Good morning students, welcome back to Limitless Literature. In this video we are going to discuss Francis Bacon. You might have watched the previous video. If you have not watched the previous video, then I would highly suggest you to go through the Francis Bacon. Who was he and what sort of essays he used to write? We have discussed these things in detail in the previous video lecture. So in this video we will discuss of studies and of adversity. These are the two essays. In the previous video we have discussed of truth, and now in this video lecture we are going to discuss of studies and of adversity. And this is very important for UPPSC, GDC examination, UGC NET English Literature examination. We have seen questions from here. Of studies generally related to reading books. Okay, the habit of reading books. So we will discuss this thing. Okay, the first thing is of studies. So here is a quotation written by Francis Bacon: studies serve for delight, for ornament, and for ability. So actually Francis Bacon categorized the studies, the habit of reading books, or the knowledge, the education, into three different categories. The first is delight, ornament, and ability. For him, the delight, this is when we are in solitude. Okay, when we are solitude and when we want to just escape from the worries of the society, when we want to just away from all the hodgepodge of the society and the parents, the family members, and just we want something to relax, so we pick up a book and we read that book. Okay, I do it many times a day. When a lot of stress in my life, I simply open a book. I open some murder mystery. I open like Harry Potter. Yes, I have used Harry Potter many times as a way of escapism in my real life, for delight purpose. Okay, for delight, personal enjoyment in solitude, intellectual pleasure and contemplation, escapes from life pressure. So that is the first category we study for delight. The next one is ornament. We require education just to make our conversation sophisticated, just to make our conversation you can say having a civic sense, having you can say a civilized conversation, how to sit, the manners, the etiquettes. Okay, that's why we require education, and this is the second purpose of the education of studies. Okay, it enhances the conversation of person, it enhances how you go through and how you communicate in the society, how you treat others. That's why education is very important, and it comes in the ornament: social discourse, superior vocabulary, knowledge, intellectual adornment, and for the public persona. That's why education is required. That is the second category done by Francis Bacon. Here we go with the third category, that is ability. So it improves our judgment. When you read a lot of books, when you read a lot of lives, a lot of characters, a lot of plots, it automatically improves your judgment. It automatically improves your decision making abilities. It automatically helps you do strategic thinking. It automatically helps you become a more administrative person, a sort of leader in the society. That's why education is necessary. And of course, reading a lot, educating yourself, make you a good counsel. You can become a good counselor, lifting the peoples away from their misery, because you have the knowledge, you have already lived so many lives through reading books. And that's why it will make you a marshal in the area of business, in the area of healing, in the area of spirituality, in the area of law of attraction, in the area of positivity. And that's why education is necessary, reading books is necessary, or knowledge, constant knowledge, lifelong learning is necessary. Now Francis Bacon gives a lot of disadvantages of reading a lot, disadvantages of getting education a lot, because education is simply an information. Books are simply an information, and if we are not applying that information, then it is not going to change anything in our life. So he is just warning us that you should read books, you should take education, but you should not become a sort of person who is just consuming information and not applying in the reality, because education cannot substitute actions. Knowledge cannot substitute actions. Knowledge cannot substitute the work, the job. Okay, we see a lot of UGC net aspirants, they keep on consuming the content, keep on consuming, they qualify net, JRF, PhD, but they are not actually going into the market and teaching the subject of English literature. So consuming, becoming UGC net qualified, becoming JRF qualified, getting PhD degree is not a substitute of actually teaching in the area. Okay, so that's what the warning given by Francis Bacon, that you should not get into so much consumption of the knowledge that it will make you paralyzed of taking actions. Okay, so these are the cautions against misuse of learning. The very first thing is excessive study. Excessive study, doing study education, makes you a lazy person. Reading becomes a lazy escapism from the action. Knowledge without application serves no purpose. Okay, you are consuming the information. If you are not applying that information, that becomes a sort of sloth, that becomes a habit of lazy people. Ornament display. Ornamental display is that you are using the fancy words to impress the people, but that does not make you look smart. So it is clearly reflected in the personality who use the fancy words, but actually he is not providing any value to this person who is talking to him. The next is academic pedantry. Okay, judging. You start judging every single thing through the books, the information that you have gained through the books. You start judging every person through the books. You start having that ego that you are learned more, you have read a lot of books, you are assistant professor, you get so much ego, and you start judging everyone through the theoretical knowledge only through the theoretical knowledge, the knowledge that you have not actually applied in the society. You are also concerned with minor details and rules. You are only sticking to the rules. You are not trying to think out of the box, because books have made you, education system has made you in a box, and you are here in the box and you are judging everything. You are trying to figure out the minor details. That's what the educators, that's what the teachers, academicians do. They are so much concerned about the rules, regulation, minor details, that they do not give freedom to the creativity. So academic pedantry is one of the weaknesses of reading a lot, of having education a lot. Bacon says that there is a pragmatic philosophy. Pragmatic philosophy means that could be applied application. So Bacon says that you should be studying good. Study is very good, but do not let it replace actual living and working. Education is good, but do not actually replace it. Qualifying UGC net, getting JRF, getting PhD is good. Everything is good. Becoming a research scholar is good, but do not actually replace it from living your life, from actually working in the job, actually teaching to the people. Okay, so that's what of studies by Francis Bacon all about. It is very necessary that you should be read more, because that will fill up your mind, that will fill your empty cup with some sort of water. So that is why reading is very important. And then conference is also important. When a lot of readers, a lot of scholars, a lot of research people get together in a conference, they share ideas. That makes us humble. Because when you read a lot, you think that you are everyone, but when you meet the like-minded people in the conference, when you meet a lot of people in the conference, the scholars, the teachers, the educators, the businessmen, everyone you meet, you become humble. Exchange of ideas. So conference make a ready man. It eliminates the narrow-mindedness that gives the reader. Okay, reading makes a man full of egoistic, but when you go into conference, you observe that there are a lot of people who have their mindset, so it makes you a ready man. But then actually it is the writing makes an exact man. Writing means you are so much absorbed in your own thinking process, because writing does not come like that. Writing is a very concentrated approach. You have your whole inner energy in the mind, and you start thinking and you start writing something. So writing makes the man full. So that is what Francis Bacon says, that writing demands precision and clear articulation. So that's writing make an exact man. Now here we have the remedies for the intellectual weak mindset. You know that a lot of people are very weak in their mindset. They are very dull. They do not have they have a lot of distractions in their life. They are very dull in their mindset. They study something but they are not able to absorb something. Why does it happen? Because of intellectual weaknesses. Just like we have physical weaknesses and we do muscle training. Okay, if we have pain in our shoulder, we do muscle training in the gymming. If we have pain in our biceps, we do this one. If we have pain in our chest or some sort of pain in the back, then we do muscle exercises, muscle training. The same way we have intellectual training. So Francis Bacon suggests that if you have a wandering wit, like if you're a person who has a lot of distraction, who cannot study at one single point, then you should study mathematics. That is the remedy, because mathematics require a lot of concentration, and when you study mathematics, your distracted mind will start becoming very much focused mind. So mathematics requires sustained concentration. That is why mathematics is necessary for the people who are very much distracted, who cannot study for long hours, who cannot study for 30 minutes or 40 minutes in great length, who cannot study for 4 hours, 5 hours. Mathematics will make your mind so much concentrated, so much focused, and it will make your mind, that's a sort of mental strength for you. Okay, but when you are able to decide whether the people are wrong or good, okay, when you are not able to distinguish the people, that who is right, who is wrong, then you should be studying philosophy, because philosophy will teach you a lot of things about truth, freedom, good, reality, evil, okay, all those things, sin and prosperity, all those things philosophy teaches you. So if you are unable to decide whether this person is good or that person is good, whether he is saying good, whether he is saying bad, then you are actually weak person, and then you should be studying the philosophy, because that will make you a person who can distinguish between good and bad. So philosophy is required for those people who are unable to decide whether this point of view is right or that point of view right, this point of view is right or that point of view is right. That is why philosophy is required. And then if you have difficulty with the proof, if you are not able to prove anything in your life, for example, you make a statement and other people do not believe you, others people do not believe you, whatever you speak in your life, no one believes you. Why? Because you are not giving the actual proof. That is why you should be studying law. Okay, these are the remedies given by Francis Bacon. So law, when you study law, then your ability to prove yourself, then your ability to make arguments, to make decisions, to make a healthy debate gets ongoing, because that's what a person is all about. If you are not able to convince others, if you are not able to convince others, then you cannot do anything. You see, we all are in the business of convincing others. We convince our parents on everyday basis. We convince our husband, our wives on everyday basis. I convince you to study every day. I convince you to join our classes. Teachers convince you to join their classes. Everything is here influencing. So if you do not know how to influence others, you should be studying law, because then you will be able to develop the rhetoric, then you will be able to develop the mindset, the proof, how you are going to prove your statement in order to influence others. That is why Francis Bacon says, if you have difficulty proving yourself, then you should start studying law. Within 1 year or 2 years of law studies, you will be able to develop that intellect and you will be able to start proving yourself. Then if you want to become wise, then you should study history. History makes you decision making ability very strong. If you want to become a sort of wisdom person, sort of spiritual person, then you should be studying poetry. They can ask you in the examination that poetry makes man witty. So that is the answer. Poetry makes man witty. They can give you 4 options. Okay, what according to Francis Bacon, what makes a man dash through poetry? They can give you option A, wise, option B, wandering wit, option C, inability to distinguish, option D, witty. So poetry makes you witty, and the last one is mathematics makes man subtle, what we have already discussed. Okay, so now this is what we have already discussed in off studies. Off truth we have already covered. Make sure that you are making down the notes from these video lectures, and of course join our mock test series on paper 1, paper 2 English literature UGC net. If you are preparing for GDC, UPPSC GDC, UPPSC LT grade, then join our mock test we have provided here on the Limitless Literature mobile application. simply watch these videos and refer to those video lectures. That's gonna help you a lot. Now moving back to our discussion, we are going to discuss the third essay that is in the syllabus of UPPSC GDC. Again, that is important for GATE, UGC, NET, CUET, because we have seen questions from there also in the different competitive exams. Okay, so that is mandatory compulsory topics that you should be studying for UGC, NET, that you should be studying for any competitive exam in English literature. So here we go with adversity, the third essay. Okay, so the essay opens with the bona rerum scandrum optalia adversarum mirabila. Okay, so that is the Latin opening Seneca's Stoic foundation of this particular essay. So Francis Bacon uses Seneca's dialogue, which is in the Latin language: prosperity, goods to be wished for; adversity, goods wonderful and admirable. He says that everyone wants prosperity in life. Everyone wants prosperity, richness, wealthiness in life. That is a wish of everyone. Prosperity, goods to be wished for everyone. Okay, so that is a wish of everyone. But adversity means suffering in life is much more. Sufferings in life is much more valuable than prosperity. Suffering in life is much more valuable than prosperity. Suffering is like a mirabilia, that is admirable. Suffering is like a magic. Mirabilia means magical. And then he goes on to the second quotation, which is very magnum hebri fragilatrician hominis. That is again a Latin. It is greatness. Greatness means a person. That person is a great person who understands that human beings are weak. Human beings are weak. Frailty of a man. Human beings are weak. He accepts the human weaknesses. That person is a great person who understands that we all human beings are weak people. We have a lot of weakness inside, and that makes us, accepting these things makes us great. And then you start finding peace in God, because God does not have any weakness. God is perfect. So you start finding security in the God. A great person is one who understands that he can never be perfect. The other person can never be perfect. Your children, your husband, your wife can never be perfect, and you have to accept those things. And when you accept those things, you start believing in God, because he is perfect person, and your whole concentration should be on God. You find security, you find peace in the God's name. You are always thinking about the God, that he is so perfect, and you want him, the God, to have by your side every time. God gives you security. So that's what security of God. The true greatness is to have one of a man. The true greatness to have is one of the frailty of a man and the security of a God. That's what he has said, Francis Bacon. Okay, so Francis Bacon also compares prosperity with adversity. He says that prosperity, how prosperity comes: you start earning money and you start living simply. Okay, how you will become rich? Only through working a lot and start saving life, start living a modest life. Okay, you do not start squandering of your money. You earn a lot, you start living a comfortable life. Do not spend a lot, you save money. That is known as temperance. Prosperity requires temperance, that is modest life. Modest life means simple life. So that's how you save money, and that's how you become patient, that's how you become so much rich in your life. But he says that adversity, sufferings demands fortitude, demands courage. When you are suffering, you are always lazy, you always procrastinate, you start escaping from the problems, you start running away from the problems, you always feel depressed, you want to die, you want to do suicide. Nothing makes sense. That's why adversity, suffering requires courage. Adversity requires fortitude. Fortitude means courage, and courage is much more valuable than prosperity. Courage is much more valuable than temperance. Courage is something that we should be seeking. That's why he says that in the previous slide we have seen prosperity is something everyone wish for, but adversity is magic. Suffering is magic because it requires courage to come out of that suffering. So Francis Bacon says that we should always be searching for the courage and all those things. Okay, so that's what we have discussed here in this. So that is a prosperity versus adversity. Old Testament. So you know that in the Bible we have two testament, Old Testament and New Testament. Old Testament is followed by Israeli, okay, Israel people, Jews, and it is before Jesus Christ. Old Testament is before Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ came, he came up with his own philosophy and he started filtering the Old Testament and he came up with his New Testament. Jesus Christ, New Testament, the Bible came after Jesus Christ, and this is for the whole world. Jesus Christ, this is for the whole world. It is much more spiritual. And Old Testament is only for Jews people, okay, only for Jewish people, and that is before Jesus Christ. So Old Testament is focused on material property, but New Testament talks about heaven, the spiritual growth. New Testament talks about the sufferings, that sacrifices, how to live a modest life, how to become so much courageous. That is what New Testament, that is what Jesus Christ talked about. Old Testament is all about worldly success, that you should become very faithful. If you become very faithful in your life, then the God will give you a lot of money. So that is what Old Testament blessing. And New Testament is all about suffering, is all about life is a suffering, and we should always seek for the spiritual growth, and we should be courageous enough to overcome those adverse moments in our life. So Old Testament rewards in this life, earthly success, and New Testament is always talk about heaven, rewards in heaven, life after death. Okay, and so Bacon says that New Testament is much more precious. New Testament, what Jesus Christ has said, gives courage to everyone, every human being on this earth. So that is why New Testament is good. Francis Bacon argues that New Testament adversity carries greater benediction and clear revelation of God's favor. But God's actually want us, that is clarified much more clearly in New Testament as compared to Old Testament. As you know that Francis Bacon was a Renaissance person. He was living in the age of Elizabethan period around that time, and everyone was so much against Jews population, because Jews were the people who crucified the Romans were the people who crucified, you can say, the Jesus Christ. So everyone in Britain, America, everyone was during the Elizabethan period, France and all those were against Jews. People were against all the philosophies of Jews, all the philosophies of Old Testament, because they were the followers of New Testament. Now here towards the end of this particular video, here Francis Bacon says that prosperity, when one becomes wealthy, he becomes very lazy, and he always wants more and more. He becomes morally weak, because that's what rich people do. But the real test of human being is in the sufferings, how he behaves, what sort of character he has, how he behaves with other person, how he behaves with himself. That reveals the true character of a man when he is in suffering, when he is in adversity. When everything is fine in life, then the real character does not come out, because everyone is happy, then you can just mask your real character. But in the sufferings, in the arguments, in the debate, when things are not going right in your life, then only the sufferings, then only the real character of a man comes out. So sufferings requires hardship, suffering requires moral strength, suffering requires the true characters, and true characters emerge under pressure. Human beings become good in their character through sufferings. If there is no suffering, human beings will never become so much civilized in their behavior, so much good in their action, so much ethical and morally virtuous in their action. So I hope of adversity and of studies is clear to you now, Please watch the video once again if you have not understood it, make the notes, and also start preparing for the mock test. Okay, watch this video and start attempting the mock test that we have provided on the UPPSC GDC mock test series. Okay, you can also join UGC NET paper 1 and paper 2 mock test series, or you can join the fresh batch that is going on UGC NET and GATE English Literature. I will be personally helping you to qualify all the competitive exams in English literature. So that's it for this. I hope you found the video helpful. Do let me know your views in the comment section below. That will inspire me to create more such videos in the future. I will see you soon in the next video. That's it for this. Thank you.